Hey, what's up, guys? It's AntsCanada here, once again bringing you another interview with the greats. As you know, we at AntsCanada like to interview renowned people from all over the world. And today we have a very, very special guest. He's very well known online and in the myrmecological, biological world. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. James Trager, who is joining us today on Phone Patch. James, are you there?
I'm here. It's good to be with you.
Awesome. Well, it's really, truly a pleasure to have you here. We know a lot of people on our channel are big fans of your work, and you've definitely helped a lot of people, on the online community as well with sharing your knowledge. So before we get into this, James, the clip you saw earlier with the Lacius, what's your take on what's happening there?
Well, I believe the queen actually is laying an egg there. At one point, right around the 1 minute mark in the video, you can see a worker quickly come out from underneath the queen with an egg in its mandibles, and I think it's carrying away a fresh laid one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and as far as the other workers, the workers that are gathered around the queen with their gaster flexing activity, workers that are in the queen's retinue, those which hang close to her, are often very attentive to her movements, and you can see them sort of getting agitated when she's starting to tap at the hind portion of her gaster with her hind legs.
Right.
I don't know exactly a technical term for it, but it's sort of a sympathetic activity. They're watching it happen, and I guess it's a reflection of their emotional, physiological state, or whatever you want to call it.
Wow, that's incredible. So you're suggesting then that the workers have like an emotional bond to their queen in that sense, I guess?
Well, that might be a stretch to put it into those sort of human terms, but clearly they're highly social organisms, very attuned to each other's state of being and activity and so on.
That's great. Thank you very much. I'm sure that answers a lot of questions. At what point in your life, James, did you decide it was your vocation to study ants?
Well, I've been interested in ants as long as I can remember, which is back to about age 5. And I guess unlike many people who grow up and go on and do something practical, I just kept on with the ants.
You're saying that studying ants is not so practical?
Well, it actually does have a very practical side in the sense that a number of ant species, as we know, are economically important.
Right.
Before the leaf-cutting ants are the most important crop pests in tropical America. Carpenter ants with their damage to wood structures and so on. Excellent.
Now, I'm curious, for the aspiring myrmecologists out there, how long does it typically take to, be considered a myrmecologist? Like, does it require a doctorate degree?
Well, there have been some very competent myrmecologists who did not have doctoral degrees, and I can think of at least one who didn't even complete a 4-year college degree. But normally, it requires an advanced degree in entomology, and in my own case, I went to school for 24 years.
Wow!
From kindergarten through receiving my PhD. So,
wow.
That's a half a lifetime, and it does generally require a lot of study in order to end up working in the field.
I see.
My particular work, my day job, if you will, deals more with ecology and botany than with ants per se, although they're not absolutely excluded from my daily work.
Right.
But I don't have an entomologist job. I'm a biologist / naturalist at a nature reserve.
I see. Yeah, I've noticed that those who study ants, they kind of don't limit their title to just myrmecologist. It's they tend to be broader in terms of their categorization.
Yeah, and I think many of them have broader interests than just ants too. Ants interact with so so many other things in the natural world that you almost cannot help be interested in some of those other organisms as well.
Great. Now, where is your favorite place in the world to study ants, James?
Wow, that's a tough question because it's interesting just about anywhere you go.
Mm-hmm.
Having grown up in North America, I've spent most of my time here, but I also have spent a fair amount of time studying ants in tropical America, in various South American and Central American countries. But really, I suppose if I had to pick a favorite, it would be in the American Southwest, where you have such a diversity of ants, ranging from those species of the hot deserts all the way up to the ones of the high mountains.
Wow, incredible.
The state of Arizona, for example, has close to 250 species of ants living there, and you can certainly one lifetime is not enough to learn about all of them.
That's incredible.
Anyway, yeah.
That's amazing. And did you say 250 discovered ones, or are we still discovering more there?
Well, yeah, we do. As a matter of fact, we run the ant course, which is an ant training workshop for professional biologists, usually graduates down in southeastern Arizona, and I'm an instructor in that program. And it's not unusual for us to find an ant during those sessions. They last about 10 days, and we've got 30 people scouring the hills of southeastern Arizona for.
Wow.
It's not unusual for us to turn up a new species in a session of the ant course, in spite of the fact that that's one of the better collected regions of the world in terms of the ant lore.
I see. Now, do you realize right there that you might have discovered something new? Like, how do you determine that? I guess you have to bring them into the lab to analyze under microscope. Is that how it works?
That's usually how it works. Sometimes you'll find something that's so distinctive that you know right away that it's not one you've seen before or that is known from that area.
Excellent. Well, now we do know that you've done a lot of research on Polyergus ants, and I believe you're working on a publication on the genus Polyergus. Is that true? Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I was doing a bit of writing on that this morning, as a matter of fact.
When can we expect it to be released?
Well, I've been working on this particular project off and on since I was in graduate school about 25 years ago, and in the interest in them goes back farther than that, into childhood, because I was fortunate to live in places where they were abundant. I should say here what Polyergus is. It's a genus of ants that is popularly known as the slave-making ants, or Amazon ants.
Mm-hmm.
No relation to the Amazon basin in Brazil, but the name comes from the mythological female warriors of the Amazons, and because these are sort of a warlike group of ants, or so it has been said. They perform these spectacular raids in late hot summer afternoons where they steal the cocoons and the mature larvae of a related species of ant in another genus, the genus Formica.
Mm-hmm.
They carry them home, and the home nest actually contains a mixed population of the Polyergus, which are typically red in color, and the Formicas species, which can be anywhere from yellow to a black species, depending on the particular situation and location in the world. But anyway, the Polyergus raids are kind of famous, probably gave rise to this, the storied battle of the black and red ants that everybody sort of seems to have as part of their subconscious knowledge about ants.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I myself have never seen a Polyergus ant. What's their distribution? How far north do they go and south? And are they found in other parts of the world?
I have seen some specimens from southern Ontario,
Wow.
I'm not sure how much farther north than that they go, but I know they're widely distributed. Well, they're in all the 48 U.S. states, probably in all the adjoining Canadian territories, and they extend pretty well south in the mountains of Mexico at higher altitudes where the Formica species that they can parasitize
Great.
also occur. There's also 3 species over in Europe and Asia.
Oh, okay, so they're overseas as well. I was wondering, is there a specific host species that every Polyergus species parasitizes? Or are they just general?
Yeah, that's the interesting question. There's always, in the literature, it's generally, you get the impression that the Polyergus use just whatever's around. But part of that comes from the fact that we haven't recognized how many species of Polyergus there really are. And right now, on a worldwide basis, there's about 6 of them that are recognized.
Wow.
Have names, but when I get done with them, it's going to be about 3 times that many.
Incredible.
This is based on a set of careful measurements that I've been taking, and associations with specific host Formica species.
I see.
So not everyone has just one host species. Some of them have only one. Others have several to choose from that are close relatives of one another.
Okay, great. So let's talk about the colony founding process of a Polyergus queen. So a Polyergus queen has its nuptial flight, it mates, and then it drops to the ground. How does it start its colony then?
Well, there seem to be 2 different patterns. In one, the mated queens will accompany a raid. They'll follow a brood-robbing raid.
I see.
Then enter the colony that's sort of in disarray after the Polyergus workers run off with their cocoons.
Wow.
And that seems to give them some sort of an advantage in establishing a colony in there.
So you're
saying the other pattern is where the queens run around independently, seeking a colony of the host species and enter it. Now, so that's and we know that when a queen Polyergus enters a Formica colony, the first thing she tries to do is to find the queen of that colony, and practically the instant that she finds this host species queen, she grabs onto her, pierces her body with her strong dagger-shaped mandibles,
wow,
and slathers her with formic acid and Dufour's gland secretions, and ends up and then holds on to the dying or dead queen's body for quite a while, 15 minutes or more, and sort of rubbing around on it and trying. Apparently, what they're doing is picking up the odor of the host queen.
Right.
And when they finally let go, the workers, those Formica workers, think that she smells like their own queen.
Incredible! Wow, that's such a different way of colony founding. That's so interesting.
It is. There's a third thing that I can say about this, and that is Polyergus tend to fly a few weeks after the host Formica species fly. And I think a lot of them are actually invading very young colonies of Formica that either only have their very first few workers.
I see.
Or maybe not even any mature workers yet. And we know that when a Polyergus queen is put together with a Formica queen that has brood but no workers yet, she doesn't kill the Formica queen, but goes in and makes friends with her, so to speak, and allows her to continue living until there are enough workers in the nest to support her own brood. That is, her being the Polyergus queen.
Interesting. That's
fascinating.
Yeah, that is fascinating.
Behavior. So if they get into a mature Formica colony, they kill the queen, soak up her odor, and try to get accepted with that ready-made worker force. If the worker force isn't there yet, they wait it out until one becomes available, and then they do the subterfuge.
Wow, how intriguing. Now, I'm
Yeah.
wondering, is Polyergus the only genus known to, I guess, slave raid in this way?
No, not at all. There are a number of species actually in the genus Formica that do this.
Oh, okay.
And there's another genus called Rossomyrmex in Europe and Asia that uses slaves, if you will, of a genus related to Formica called Proformica. And then there are a number of ants in another subfamily, the Myrmecine group,
Yep.
that go out and steal brood and live in mixed colonies with so-called slaves as well.
That's great. It's so I kind of wonder how, like through evolution, a species could engage themselves in such a symbiosis. It's so strange. Would you say that Polyergus is your favorite kind of ant, James? At least to study.
Well, at the moment, yes, because I'm so involved with them. But I have to say that when I've done research on other ants and just sort of gotten my head totally into that particular group, they have sort of temporarily become my favorites. But really, I'm quite fascinated by a wide array of ants, and I think I could study just about any of them and get intensely interested as I am at the moment in Polyergus.
Now, do you own any pet ants, James?
I do not have any pet ant colonies at the moment, but you can be sure that since my callow youth, I have had many ant colonies over the years, and some of them I've kept for several years, and they remained in good health, and I ended up usually releasing them or keeping them until the queen died.
I see. What species? I'm curious.
Well, as you might expect, I've kept a lot of Formica. I don't Polyergus. They are so hardwired to do this raiding thing where they have to leave the nest and everything. Captivity is not really a good situation for them.
Right. Yeah.
I've kept the twig nesting Pseudomyrmex ants, the funny little wasp-like slender ants that live in the tropics. And there are several species in Florida, so that's where I kept them.
Great. Now,
I've kept a variety anyway. They're all kind of interesting. Some are very difficult, though. You know, I think people don't readily appreciate some ant species are really kind of fussy, and they need things just the way they need them, and you can't really replicate it in
captivity. Yeah, totally understand that. Speaking of which, do you have any words of advice or wisdom that you'd like to give to young people out there who love ants and might be keeping ants and are watching this interview, James?
Words? Oh, I should have prepared myself better for this question. The main thing that I can say is not to be deterred by other people's disinterest. Ants are really fascinating creatures, but that, as you know, is probably not fully appreciated by everyone in the world. And so, you know, you have to be a little bit thick-skinned in pursuing your study of ants, because people tend to think it's silly or not important or something. But as we've seen, it can have a real practical application. And if nothing else, it's a tremendous way to appreciate a tiny little bit of natural beauty that we are so blessed to live with on this world, you know.
I agree wholeheartedly. Thank you so much, James, for joining us. That was a fun and great interview.
Well, I look forward to seeing it when it's posted, and it's been a good time.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the year.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That was Dr. James Trager, reporting live from the United States. And be sure to subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for the support, guys. Stay tuned for the next interview. Bye-bye. Here we go. Gotta call him.